I never thought of myself as a Cars fan. No, not that type of Cars. I'm talking about the Pixar films. Let's not kid ourselves. The Cars movies were made for the purpose of merchandising because, let's face it, what kid wouldn't buy this? That being said, I do think that there is a way to make a movie interesting and likable, even if the whole purpose is to make money. I mean, that's practically every movie's goal. So why talk about a bunch of films that were made to sell toys? Well, believe it or not, I do think that there is some craft in 2 out of the 3 films. Not only in the animation department, but also in the story department, characters, and overall meaning and purpose. I think to make it easier, I'll just go one by one and explain my feelings and thoughts on them. Quickly, hopefully. The first out of the 3 Cars movies was released back in 2006 under the name Cars. An alternate name, which I prefer, was Route 66, which would have sounded cool and would have made the film's theme more clear. They changed the name due to another show having the same name, but in my opinion they should have just kept it. The film was also inspired by a documentary titled Divided Highways, which talked about the interstate and how many small businesses and towns were essentially forgotten due to the lack of visitors, something that the movie Cars obviously talks about. I think that the film definitely has its downs and somewhat boring moments, but overall I think it's a likable and fun movie with great themes such as how we are progressing rapidly and sometimes forget to slow things down, the life of a racer from the peak of their career to the end of it, how winning is not the best if it's not fair, the meaning of kindness, etc. The film also is inspired by middle America and, like those small towns and like country people, country music, which makes the film more grounded and have it a connection to the real world. Obviously the Cars too, Doc Hudson is an actual I guess the Hudson Hornet is a real car, which is kind of cool, I think it's cool that they were able to merge, I guess, the real world and a fictional world and tell this story. There's like a clear message that it's trying to show that, I guess the overall clear message is that you should take it slow for, a couple times, don't live in the fast lane like McQueen, because then you'll see, the good things go by or whatever. Again, there are a lot of scenes dedicated to keeping children entertained, but overall, it's a pretty good movie and entertaining movie. It also made so much money with merchandise, so it's safe to say that it was a successful movie. Fast forward to 2011 and we got the embarrassing Cars 2. This one basically tried to expand the Cars universe and try to show other parts of the world, but it just fell flat on its face and it wasn't self-aware and it was just meaningless at the end of the day, honestly. The only interesting thing about this one is the fact that this was the first Pixar movie that was considered a failure. Every film before this one seemed like it came out of a place of passion and the writers and directors wanted to say something. Cars 2 is the total opposite of that in the sense that its only goal was to make money and that's it. Cars 2 is just a parody of spy movies with a bunch of cliches, like having characters be mad at another because they're embarrassing, or have a character that is trying to tell them something but the others don't listen or just misinterpret what the character's saying. Basically something that you would see in a bad TV show or even movie, Yeah, I guess safe, cliche, boring, stupid. My theory is that since many saw Cars as a movie that was made in order to sell toys, the crew and writers essentially said, fuck it, let's just try to make it a good time or whatever. And the film never fully goes all in. They try to make it interesting with showing cars shooting each other with guns and showing cars being killed, but the writing and plot really drag it down and make it just super boring and predictable. They try to have stakes again with having cars shoot at each other, which is, kind of cool, but if that's all you have, then it's not really that good, I guess. It's not something that keeps me going, because at the end of the day, I know from the writing that it's cliche. I know that none of the main characters are gonna die and everybody's gonna be happy at the end. And sure, it tries to do a twist, but it just kind of seems weird. I remember I tried to rewatch this one and I really couldn't finish it. I got to almost the half part. I remember watching it in theaters too, and I was just like, the fuck was that? Anyways, at the end of the day, Cars 2 sucks ass and it left a mark on Pixar's reputation for sure. After the train wreck, or I should say car crash, that was Cars 2, the Pixar team knew that they needed to make something meaningful again, which brings us to the final Cars movie. Cars 3 was released in 2017, and funny enough, the idea of a Cars 3 was thought up right after Cars 2 was out in theaters. It wasn't officially in pre-production though until 2014. Unlike Cars 2, Cars 3 has a point and has a great story to tell. That being the story about getting old and how it feels to have someone else younger than you be better than you. Not only that, but they build on the mythos of the whole Cars lore by delving into the relationship between Doc and McQueen, which is something that they should have done in number 2, but I guess money is better than, ideas. Cars 3 also implements middle America culture such as dirt roads, racing, country music, all the things that you think of when you hear the phrase America. The film also feels original and has an actual soul. It's very entertaining and has a great build up to the final act. While there are some scenes that are there to mainly entertain kids, they still have an impact to the story. For example, when McQueen and Cruz are in Thunder Hollow, that scene effectively is a scene to show some crazy action sequence and entertain the kids, but it has a purpose. McQueen was trying to train but got more than he was looking for. Not only that, but the scene comes back later in the movie when Smokey is explaining that he got out of Thunder Hollow without a scratch, implying that he is in fact a great racer. The animation is amazing, of course. The soundtrack that's implemented is better than the previous two. Overall, Cars 3 is a great movie that I wouldn't mind seeing more than once, and I in fact have seen more than once. And I honestly don't really find it that irritating than, seeing something like Cars 2. I would gladly see Cars 3 more than Cars 1 and Cars 2 because that's when they actually gave a shit and it showed. So what is the potential of the Cars trilogy? Why am I making this? Is because I feel like they could have made something so special. They could have made something that was very, very American and very, I would say, again, going back to the phrase middle America, such as the Yeehaws and, the Ride 'em Cowboys and all that. They had that connection to the real world that would have made Cars, I guess the Cars trilogy and the Cars franchise, it would have been meaningful if they went full on into that instead of having, Cars 2 go fucking around the world and, fuck around and make fun of spy movies. They could have the plot of Cars 3 and Cars 2, and then they could have just built on that, such as, I don't know, dude, American culture, because that's what it really was. I guess for Cars 1 at least, it was very American, again with the interstate, with the Route 66. It was inspired by, that old American spirit, I guess, whatever you want to fucking call it. And that's just, what I think the Cars trilogy could have been, but they fucked it up. They fucked it up.